Man, if you could bottle the soul of the 70s and pour it into a car, you'd get a beast that'd make today's tech-heavy rides look like overpriced calculators on wheels. Stick around, because I am dropping a truth bomb at the end about a forgotten British gem that'll make you rethink everything you know about classic cars. I'm your host, just a bloke who has been elbow deep in grease since I was old enough to nick my dad's spanners. And this is Gearhead's Garage, where we don't just talk cars, we live in. Today, we're tearing back to the 70s, when Britain churned out machines that were raw, rowdy, and still outshine half the stuff rolling off 2025 assembly lines. Buckle up, we're hitting the road. The 70s were a wild time. Strikes, flares, and disco might have been everywhere, but under the hood, Britain was crafting cars with more character than a pub full of old codgers. These weren't just vehicles, they were stories on four wheels, built when petrol was cheap and dreams were big. Now, let's talk about the Ford Capri. The Capri was Britain's answer to the Mustang, a poor man's muscle car with a side of Essex swagger. It wasn't just a car, it was a lifestyle. You'd see one parked outside a chippy, all sleek lines and attitude, with a 3.0-liter V6 that growled like it had a personal vendetta against the speed limit. Compare that to a 2025 Ford Puma Jenny, all electric and efficient but about as exciting as a spreadsheet. The Capri had soul. Man, it was the car you'd borrow from your mate to impress a date, only to find yourself doing donuts in an empty car park at midnight because you couldn't resist. Over 1.8 million were sold, and you can still find them at classic car meets, owners polishing their pride and joy like it's a family heirloom. Then there's the Range Rover, the granddaddy of SUVs. Back in '71, when it rolled out, nobody knew what an SUV was. It was just a Land Rover that decided it wanted to sip champagne instead of slog through mud. That 3.5-liter V8 gave it the grunt to climb a hill or cruise the motorway, and the interior, leather and wood, like a gentleman's club on wheels. Today's Range Rovers are tech palaces, but they've lost that raw, gunny-wear vibe. The 70s model could get you out of a bog and still look posh at the manor. Don't sleep on the Triumph Stag either. Yeah, I hear you British Leyland's V8 had a rep for overheating faster than a kettle, but when it worked, oh mate, that Michelodi styling, with the roll bar and pop-up headlights, made it look like it rolled off a film set. It was the kind of car you'd drive to Monte Carlo, wind in your hair, pretending you were James Bond on a budget. Fix the cooling issues, and you've got a cruiser that makes modern convertibles look like they're trying too hard. Plus, that V8 soundtrack, like a rock band warming up in your garage. And here's a curveball, the Austin Maxi laugh if you want, but hear me out. It was Britain's first hatchback, with a 5-speed gearbox and a fold-down rear seat that could turn it into a camper for you and your mates. Spacious as a TARDIS, it hauled families to Yugoslavia and back without a hiccup. Sure, it wasn't sexy, but it was the people's champion, reliable, practical, and built for real life. Try finding a 2025 model that can double as a hotel room without costing you a kidney. Why do these cars still matter? Because they were built with heart, not algorithms. The 70s were about freedom, about driving for the sake of driving. No lane assist, no touchscreens, just you and the machine. Take the MGB, for instance. Simple, rear-wheel drive, with Italian lines that could make a grown man weep. Over 500,000 sold, and you can still find them for under £10,000 if you're handy with a wrench. Compare that to a 2025 Mazda MX-5, which is fun but feels like it's trying to copy the MGB's homework. The MGB didn't need to be perfect, it just needed to be yours. Now, here's the hidden gem I promised. The Reliant Scimitar GTE. Bet you didn't see that coming. This fiberglass-bodied GT was like Britain's secret weapon, a 3.0-liter Ford V6, wedge-shaped styling, and enough room for your dog and your golf clubs. It was quirky, sure, but it was a proper grand tour for peanuts. Princess Anne had one, for crying out loud. You could pick up a decent one today for less than a new city car, and it'll turn more heads than a Tesla. Why is it better than 2025 models? Because it's not trying to be anything it's not. No eco-credentials, no driver nanny systems, just pure, unfiltered driving joy. Look, I'm not saying today's cars are rubbish. Electric cars are quick, hybrids are clever, and safety tech saves lives. But they're so sterile. The 70s cars had flaws, but those flaws gave them character. Rust, dodgy wiring, and all. They made you feel alive. You didn't just drive a Capri or a Stag. You lived with it, cursed it, loved it. That's what's missing in 2025, a connection that goes beyond the spec sheet. So, here's the big question. If you could bring back one 70s British car, untouched, no modern nonsense, which would it be? Drop it in the comments, and let's keep the passion alive. This is Gearhead's Garage, where the past still revs louder than the future. Keep the faith, keep the revs up, and I'll see you on the road.